So, Game of Thrones, one of the biggest television series ever, and is the main reason why I ever gave reading a chance. It sparked my interest to dive into the books, especially after season 8. That ending just felt off and made me want to see if there was a different ending. So I wanted to make a video ranking each book in the series solely on how much I enjoyed each individual book. However, I don't believe any of these are bad books. The one in last place is still a great book. George has truly made one of the most layered series in just 5 books. The one in last place for me is A Clash of Kings. It is over 1,000 pages and over 300,000 words. It is a damn behemoth. Those 300,000 words shape into many invigorating action, scheming, and strategizing throughout, really navigating through the chaos that ensued at the end of the first book. Many things needed to be covered, and the story needed to be built up again, which caused some slow parts sometimes. Clash of Kings does a lot to set up the rest of the series, and because of that, I feel like it sacrifices itself for the betterment of the whole. Really reflecting on this book made me realize it's been over 2 years since I read this book, and I could honestly see myself reading it again and enjoying it way more, especially after I've read the other books and gotten a little better at reading. I really struggled at visualizing and trying to keep track of all the characters at the time. Like, really struggled. Now, at number 4, I can't emphasize this enough. I really enjoyed this book. It had one of the best, no, not one of the best, it did have the best prologues out of them all with Peyton the Maesters. So many good character arcs. I mean, the first one that comes to mind is Samwell. It starts with him departing Castle Black, sailing off the Bravos, where he feels like everyone's gaining something but him. Gilly is gaining freedom and protection, Aemon is going back to fond memories, and Darian is becoming a recruiter. Meanwhile, he feels like he's losing everything by leaving the only brothers he ever had. But he realizes it's for the betterment of everyone else, to protect Gilly and to get information about the Whites and become a maester. He covers a lot of ground, figuratively and literally, just like 2 other characters in this book, Jaime and Brienne. Brienne's ending on this book is crazy, something the show is completely missing and so interesting. To be honest, it was surprising how many major differences there were than the show. The show cut out a lot, Dorne being one of them. This book explored Dorne, which showcased many other characters and definitely was a strong point in this book. But why I have this at second to last is because it's missing many of my favorite POV characters. POV characters like Jon, Tyrion, Bran, and Daenerys. I see why he did it, and it works, but it decreases the enjoyment I had compared to the other books. Now, at the third spot, I have A Dance of Dragons. This one is purely one above Feast just because it has the characters that Feast lacked, and it doubles down on separating itself from the TV series, having big reveals that really shake up the story and make Winds very intriguing. I consider myself lucky. I finished this series last November, so I haven't even waited a full year for Winds. Unlike others who've been waiting since 2011. Oh my gosh. I hope it comes very soon though. And when it does, jeez, is it going to be one of the biggest selling books ever. But in the meantime, I still got 2 more to rank. It all comes down to A Game of Thrones or A Storm of Swords. At number 2, I'm going to have to go to... This one is the consensus number 1, I feel like, and I don't have a problem with. There are so many great highlight moments in this book, and one very sad one. Joffrey, man. I'm kidding. One of the highlight moments was Jon becoming commander of the Night's Watch. It's up there with Daenerys riding Drogon for the first time in A Dance of Dragons, because it was building to that for so long and got paid off so well because it really felt like he earned it. And it was paired with him being very conflicted with himself, wanting to be Lord of Winterfell, but not wanting to break his vows and leave his brothers. Definitely was a defining moment and changed his arc. And there's another character that's arc changed completely, and flipped on its axis. Jaime Lannister. The highlight moments and great character arcs is what makes this book so great. And statistically, it probably should be my number one. But I gotta go with A Game of Thrones. And guess why? Because I enjoyed the intro book more than any other. That's it. Coming off watching the show, it was so cool to see the world in a different perspective and to actually try to visualize it. It had my attention the whole way through. There was only 2 books where I read every night, A Dance of Dragons and A Game of Thrones. Those were the 2. This book does such a good job introducing the whole world and all of these characters with such a large scope that really makes the world feel real. The dagger plot point is so good. Tyrion and Jon, Bran and Arya. I mean, so good. The character that really shines, though, is Ned. He is the majority of the chapters in this book and carries this story. And that ending, jeez. I mean, they all have pretty shocking moments and endings, but this one arguably has to be the top one. It really was a great introduction to show how this series was going to go. Now I know having Game of Thrones at number 1 is practically saying that the series goes downhill from the first book, but that is not the case at all. Each book really, truly builds off one of another, truly one of a kind. Just the world building and the amount of characters is just crazy. George has truly imagined something insane. That's my list. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Comment down below if you agree or disagree and kind of explain why. I'm very interested to hear if you've watched this far. Peace.